Hi, this is Jerry Colucci. I own a long-term property management company named Equitable Property Management, and we are located on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And the topic I would like to discuss with you today is that ominous word, eviction. When most people think about eviction, they think their apartment is going to be trashed, they won't be able to re-rent it, the tenants will be there for months and months. Well, that is not always the case. Now, there is a Landlord-Tenant Act in every state in the United States, and there are certain restrictions and timeframes that apply, and you would need to know that before you file eviction, as we know the South Carolina Landlord-Tenant Act. However, if we have to evict a tenant, it is strictly because they have breached the lease in some way. Now, it could be that they haven't paid their rent on time. It could be that they had the utilities shut off because they couldn't afford it. For whatever reason, they have breached an element in the lease. And the reason that I say that is because it is very important that no matter who you use as your property management company, you make sure that that lease protects your rights and that it is very stringent about what the tenant has to do to remain in the apartment. With that in mind, you also have to make sure that the tenant's rights are protected in the lease under the Landlord-Tenant Act of your state. And that is really, really important because although this is your rental property and an investment for you, it is a tenant's personal home. Now, having said that, let's say that a tenant breaches a lease and they don't pay their rent on time. Well, because my lease says if you don't pay your rent within 5 days, on the 6th day, we can file eviction without even notifying you. And the only reason I can say that is because it says so in my lease. So I will go to court. I will take several copies of the tenant's lease and a form that the court provides. I will pay a minimal fee of about $45, $50, and I will file for eviction against that tenant. And what happens then is that the court will give me a hearing date, which is usually 2 to 3 weeks from my filing date. And I go to court on that date, and I say to the judge, they paid their rent, I'm going to dismiss this case, or they have not. And what I would like to get is what's called an ejectment. And what we do is we pay another nominal fee of about $10, and we get what's called a writ of ejectment. And the police department in our state will then deliver that to the tenant's home and give them between 24 and 48 hours to vacate the property. So now we're to the point of vacate. Now, the tenant has to vacate and empty the property of all their belongings. Because we treat our tenants with kid gloves during their tenancy, usually we don't have an adversarial eviction process. Usually the tenant knows they've done something wrong, we've given them opportunity to remediate, and they don't, and so they usually go willingly. So we meet the police officer at the house. Usually the tenant is gone, we change the locks and we take possession of the property, and we then advertise and re-rent the property. The only drawback is if the tenant did not take all of their possessions, because the tenant may have not taken a couch or a TV or utensils, and those do have to be removed, and it is at your expense. But those too are not dramatic charges. But once that is done, the property is then once again ours, with the locks changed so no one can get in but us, and we will re-rent the property. Now, the eviction process moves very smoothly, providing that your lease protects your rights, the lease protects the rights of the tenants, and that the tenants are kept informed along the entire process, which can take somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the court schedule and also depending on the police department schedule, in that they have to post the eviction notice and post the writ of ejectment. So please don't get worried about if you have to go to eviction. As long as you have a reliable, educated, and licensed property manager in the state in which your rental property is located, the process should run very smoothly and the apartment will be re-rented quickly. Once again, I'm Jerry Colucci with Equitable Property Management. Have a good day.